Welcome to the second video podcast on human resource management, entitled Managing People. The first podcast was somewhat theoretical, so now I want to teach you how to make people dance like puppets on a string. Cue fiendish laughter. Actually, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but human resources isn't really about making people dance like puppets on a string. Human resources is about being the key strategic partner in organizational and program development. And this involves being the lead strategic partner in the organization, a key administrative expert, and rather than jerking employees around like puppets, human resources' role is to be the champion for employees, as well as a key agent for change. The first thing I want to look at is how human resources directly benefit the implementation manager. I want you to pause the recording and write down 4 or 5 things that you think that you, as a future program implementer, will need from the human resource system. Once you've written them down, then you can restart the podcast. Welcome back. That is, if you paused. I made my own list, and I hope that there will be some similarities between mine and yours. The first I put down was that by having an effective and functioning human resource system, we increase our capacity to achieve program goals. I think this makes sense, because if we have the right human resources to do the work for the organization, then we can more effectively target what the organization needs to achieve. My second point was that human resources can increase the level of employee performance. After all, the organization wants to get the best out of its employees, and it's a functioning human resource system that will facilitate that. Thirdly, even if you've hired the very best people, your HR system should make the most efficient use of those people. It may seem a little simplistic, but we need to make sure that everyone is putting their skill set to work in the most appropriate setting, so that we don't have specialists doing generalist jobs, that we don't have nurses doing secretarial work, and that we don't have unskilled people taking on professional roles. Fourthly, I thought we should be as efficient as possible in our use of our employees. This makes them productive and it reduces organizational costs. We may be about delivering health services, but there's nothing that says we can't reduce waste in doing it. The more we can reduce unnecessary costs, the more health services we can offer. Finally, and I touched on this in the last slide, an improved ability to manage change is an essential part of any organization's human resource program. Okay, so by now you know the drill. Pause the podcast, reflect on how human resource system directly benefits the employee, then restart. Welcome back again. Here's my list. First, if I'm an employee, I want to know if I'm being compensated adequately for my responsibilities. If I'm managing a budget of $10 million, does my remuneration match the level of responsibility? But I also want to know if I'm being paid on a level with my peers, with other people who are equally qualified and doing the same job. Secondly, it's important to me to know how my work fits into the larger work of the organization. Someone working for an automobile manufacturer may do a repetitive task on a production line and have difficulty seeing how the nut they tighten or the frame they insert leads to the construction of an entire functioning vehicle. We want our health workforce to understand how our day-to-day work fits into the scope of the organization and ultimately leads to improved health for the population. Thirdly, what is my motivation to keep going? Are you going to offer me promotion? Am I going to get a bonus? When's my pay rise? And finally, what is the likelihood of long-term job satisfaction? We all need to be excited about getting up in the morning and going to work. If not, life becomes terribly dreary. Okay, So now we're going to put on our human resource hats as implementers. Now we are employing people, either directly because we run the organization or project, or indirectly because we're managing that project. What are our key concerns? Well, I would hazard to say that first, we want to know, is the employee being treated fairly? Was there a valid hiring process? Was the job advertised and competed? Or was there a non-transparent process, at the end of which the boss's daughter was hired? Are employees all being treated in the same way through the application of clear, published personnel policies and procedures? Is the distribution of tasks and responsibilities fair and equitable? For example, is that boss's daughter spending her time doing simple tasks while another, equally qualified person is doing double the amount of work? Are salaries, benefits and allowances fair and equitable? Is there a system that recognizes good performance and provides appropriate incentives? If I'm working 80 hours a week and get the same pay as a lazy person who doesn't show up half the time, why should I care about the company and the work? Next, do the employees know what they're supposed to do? Do they all have clear job descriptions? When Frida and Claire are working in the outpatient clinic, who's responsible for doing the paperwork and who's responsible for taking vital signs from the patients as they come in? Are job expectations clear? Are there things that someone might be asked to do that are not actually written in their job descriptions? And what is the mechanism for updating job descriptions? Are there clear boundaries between who does what? Where do jobs overlap? When is it okay to cross job boundaries? For example, if someone falls sick, who fills in for them? And finally, what are the priorities for the job and for the organization? When I'm faced with 5 important things to do, how do I choose which to do first? Thirdly, how well is the employee doing? We have job descriptions and clear expectations, but we need to measure if people are actually meeting those expectations. For example, performance reviews are extremely important, but are often done very badly. They have poor indicators of actual performance. They're not well applied, and sometimes they don't even relate to reality. So when you're managing people, set good standards and communicate those standards. When the standards are set and employees meet those standards, it's important to provide positive feedback to keep them motivated and performing well. Perhaps you can increase their performance levels from excellent to outstanding. It's equally important to provide feedback when people are not performing well. If someone keeps on doing badly or are not pleasing you, they can't improve if you don't tell them and then provide clear guidance on how to improve. And, as I said, performance metrics should always meet the criteria of being smart indicators. To keep a motivated, effective workforce, employees want their work to count. They want to know that they're working for an organization that knows where it's going. It should have at least a vision and a mission. They want to know how their work contributes to the vision and mission of the organization and how they are making a difference to the beneficiaries of the organization. They want to be able to link their performance to organizational outcomes. What or who does my work benefit? But what would happen if the employee wasn't there? Would it actually affect the organization? If the answer is no, then where is the job satisfaction coming from? Finally, how does the employee's career develop? It should be laid out clearly and not left to guesswork. Most important is, of course, promotion. Nobody wants to do the same thing all their life. People want to know what they must do to rise in the organization, and what is the likely timeline. Perhaps they've reached as far as they can go in the organization. then they should be allowed to move on if they can find professional advancement that you cannot offer. Perhaps you can't offer it because of your structure and function, or perhaps there are just no vacancies. We should be supportive of people advancing their careers and celebrate the roles we have taken so far in making them better professionals. There are other ways we can help people grow other than promotion, however. For example, on-the-job learning by mentoring can be very powerful. Cross-functional assignments, where staff are given the opportunity to temporarily work in another department, gives people strong insights into how other staff work and can open new perspectives. Having people involved in task forces or committees can help people understand how the organization works and give a strong sense of ownership. Additional job assignments, ideally compensated, can be used as strong incentives too. Paying for young professionals to make presentations at meetings, and finally, training, on-the-job training, distance education, or attending courses can all be valuable. That's all I have for now. I had originally thought I would add a third podcast on situational leadership, but I'm not 100% sure at this point of the relevance of that to this course, so I'm limiting the podcast to 2 for now. See you on Tuesday. Bye.